This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. We will be dissecting their journeys in hopes to deliver actionable content that you, the artist, can start implementing now, helping you grow not only as a creative spirit, but also a successful artistic entrepreneur. With a little organization, relationship building, and your artistic ability, you can obtain greatness. Climb aboard, whether an artist, retail owner, or enthusiast. We have a ton of fun in store for you. Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show. This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is brought to you by Mountain Glass Arts. Mountain Glass is holding their January sale, which includes borosilicate Golden Gate tubing at 20% off. Just put in the term Golden Gate at checkout. And they also are holding their soft glass COE 104 sale on a Fetre or a Moretti rod at 30% off. Just put in the word Fetre, that's E-F-F-E-T-R-E at checkout. For any other questions or comments, just go to mountainglass.com. That is mountainglass.com. And this show is also brought to you by Green Flash Glass. And if you are a wholesaler, retail store, get a hold of them through their website at greenflashglass.com. Give them a phone call and place your order. That is greenflashglass.com. And all sales are always free shipping that are $1,000 or more. And now on with the show. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode number 76. This is Jay Michael, your host. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I'm excited to bring you stories with artists, hoping to inspire as well as helping to grow your businesses. Thank you guys for tuning in today. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm having to talk a little quiet right now because it is almost 11 o'clock at night here at my house, and people are sleeping. So I'm going to try and turn the volumes up in the post-production part of this before I hit the bed tonight. But anywho, I just thought I'd put that out there. Today's guest I am really, really excited about. Her name is Natasha Wescoat. She is a mentor, mastermind group leader. Most importantly, she's a professional fine artist, illustrator and painter, and does an amazing work. All her links and stuff I will have on her show notes. You can just go look her up on Instagram under Natasha Wescoat, W-E-S-C-O-A-T. She's a Michigan native artist. She has had her work sold to over 1,000 different original galleries, or original works sold to over 1,000 galleries. Her work's been featured on ABC's Extreme Home Makeover Home Edition show, The Middle, and also the movie Marley Me, as well as she has her work licensed to be sold in stores like Macy's, Nordstrom's, Target, Bed Bath & Beyond, and more. It's pretty amazing, and through her entrepreneurial spirit and heart to want to teach, she started a group called the Art Career Academy, which is a mentoring mastermind group. It's a large group. Several hundred artists are involved in this. I've been in it myself now for probably about a year and a half, and this is how I got to know Natasha, through this group. Also heard her on another podcast several years ago, an Entrepreneur on Fire podcast that you guys can check her out there. But either way, she's got a lot of great insight and information, and we talk about kind of the foundations of starting it as an artist, starting to sell your work, how to price it. We get into areas talking about doing shows, whether you should or not, how to sell your work, how to market, basically the reasons why we feel mastermind groups and other mastermind groups out there in general, why they are what they are and why they are beneficial to artists especially, and especially in the world that we live in of struggle and creativity and ups and downs and what have you. It's always good to have someone to bounce off ideas and some thoughts too, as well as once you get to know each other, you can share all kind of crazy shit. But, so it's a cool conversation. I'm really happy to have her on. Also, before I forget, I got to do a little quick housekeeping. Right now, Mountain Glass is having their Get It Quick sale, which started yesterday. Ends on January 22nd of 2016. Right now, you can get their North Star First Quality rods 25% off. Just put in the word North Star at the checkout in the coupon code box there. And they also have their they also have their soft glass sale, which is their mandrels and bead release. You can get that for 20% off. Just again, put in the word B-E-A-D, bead, at checkout. And again, these sales end on January 22nd, 2016. So if you're listening to this next week, sorry about that. Also, they have Greasy Glass tubing in. Greasy Glass just got some new stuff. Then from Mountain Glass, they got this purple rainbow color and a greasy purple. All right, they look pretty nice. I like them. Also, they have some new joints in them, which are big 75 millimeter female double ground joints. They are also in 1019, 1423s, and 1926s. So they're double grinds, basically. They got them in. Also, for those that haven't seen it yet, they have a new 12 mil joint, kind of the in between 10 and 14, obviously, to be redundant here. But yeah, it's definitely something interesting. We'll have to see how that goes. So enough of that, guys. I hope you all enjoy this episode again with Natasha. You can check her out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can go online and Google the Art Career Academy. She's got a lot of really awesome stuff, and her website is Natasha-Wescoat.com. And again, that's Natasha-Wescoat, Wescoat.com. And again, all her information will be in the show notes as well in this week's newsletter. You guys take care. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them at info@wiseguyradio.com. And also in the show notes, you can click a little thing on there that says comment. You can comment on the show. You can talk to me if you have any questions for the question and answer show. You leave them there, please. And other than that, I hope you guys enjoy episode 76 featuring Natasha Wescoat. Love you guys. Take it easy, and we will see you on the next show. Hey, Natasha, how are you today?
I'm awesome.
Fantastic. So you've got 10 plus years behind you as a professional artist. And at one point in your journey, did you decide to take that leap of faith and really go on your own as an artist full time?
It really was actually when I was about 22 years old is when I really focused on it as a professional. I actually, I think I talked about this a little bit with you before. I was really interested in working for Walt Disney World as an animator. And though I had some obstacles here and there in my beginning years, I was involved in other things, and I was actually involved in music for about 5 years of my life. That was my full-time job. But I had two children under two. I was just going back to college to get some experience and move forward so that I could go into animation and design. And that's when I started experimenting with selling artwork. And I found out that it was the right time to begin.
Yeah, so I noticed with your work, so you do both digital and actual on canvas as well, correct?
Yep, that's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you were looking at the animation side of things at that point in time, because I know myself, I was in the same boat. I was looking at going into animation back when it was actually like hand drawn, old school.
Right.
And then once it became digital, I was like, I was literally 3 days away from. We have a local school here that does. They have a huge animation program. And I was literally 3 days away from starting class. And I, at the very last minute, was like, I don't really know if I can sit behind a freaking computer for 3 months or 3 years working on a project. As awesome as that would be, I don't know if that's who I am, if I can do that. And I don't want to invest the time.
Oh, yeah.
But with your work that you do, like, as you fine tune your creative side of your work, did you first start off? I mean, obviously, we're probably about the same age. So, when we were younger, we didn't have the computers. But at what point in time did you transition from paper to the computer side of things?
It really was a very, very slow transition. Like, as I said, I was trying to go into animation. I was actually trying to teach myself Maya and all these different programs before I went in to college for it, but my computer couldn't even handle it. And secondly, I absolutely hated it. I hated the technical aspect of that. So it wasn't until really actually last year when I was beginning to illustrate my own children's book that I finally was starting to dive into digital illustration. And it was quite a learning curve. It took me a very long time. And even I am a bit disappointed in the way that my children's book had turned out because I learned so much after I had published it. But that was when I actually started going towards doing that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know what you mean. There's such a learning curve. I think anything technology nowadays. I mean, even like I'm learning Photoshop all over again, the new version of Photoshop, and it's like, holy
Oh, yeah.
shit, it's
Oh my
crazy.
God.
I'm just trying to make a
Yeah.
catalog. I've already got pictures taken, and I've had my daughter's 16. I'm like, can you show me how to use this, please? And she knows what to do with this thing.
Oh,
She's incredible, which is awesome having her. Anything on
yeah,
my phone,
definitely.
any technology issue I have, I'm like, here, daughter, help me, please.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my kids are like that too. My 12-year-old is doing so much more with YouTube than I ever did. And I'm just like, how in the world? It's amazing watching them.
Yeah, it is. It's so neat. So, at what point in time did you then, as you became a professional artist, in terms of your outlets, did you have to go through a website? Did you do shows? How did you kind of sell out?
When I started out, like I've said a few times before, I didn't know what in the world, where the hell I was supposed to begin. So I started out on eBay of all places, which seems like such a turnoff for artists to go to. The art market there was huge. And I started listing some paintings on there. And then I started my own website, which I think I had started on back then. I think it was Homestead or GeoCities,
Okay.
and just built something really basic over there to put my information and that kind of thing. But yeah, it was auctions that I started on.
Oh, nice. Heck yeah. I know in the glass industry too, Etsy, or not Etsy, but eBay was a really big outlet for the marble makers and for the marble collectors. And I was never really, still to the day, I'm not really a big marble maker, but I've always appreciated marbles even since a kid. And it was amazing to see this large, vast community across the world that collected marbles that were buying them from artists on eBay. And these guys started getting hundreds of dollars for these marbles, where now they're getting thousands of dollars for marbles, which is crazy to even think
Wow.
about. But it all started the same way through eBay. So it's interesting. And eBay's kind of weird how they work their thing. Same with like Craigslist and everything else, trying to, like you're saying, trying to sell something. And then you get into the Etsy's and all the other outlets now. So with your website, is that strictly your online presence for yourself as your outlet?
It was in the beginning. I think Live Journal was around, and I started a little blog there. But at the time, I was an absolutely terrible blogger. I would talk about like the dinner I made that day and something the kids said, which, there really was no direction or reason for what I wrote down. So it's kind of like learning as I went.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I think for a lot of us as artists, that's kind of how it is. You kind of trial and error and figure things out because there's not a lot of handbooks out there in a sense on how to be a creative individual as an individual. We all have our own creative spirit and our own ideas on how to do things, and even if we have a set of directions in front of us, we're probably not going to follow them.
Oh yeah, definitely. And back then in the beginning, I think this was in 2000. It's weird to say back then,
I know,
but in
right?
2004, there wasn't a whole lot of blogs or artists of any kind doing a whole lot that I could find. So I really was just guessing as I went. It really was kind of scary at the time.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Especially now, like with like we kind of talked pre-show with this new generation of glass artists that have come up. They have the advantage now of all of us who have paved the right way and learned the techniques and figured this stuff out. And there's a couple guys out there that have websites or on YouTube even have videos that are instructional videos. I mean, when I started in '99, I didn't knew YouTube wasn't even around yet, So it's
Yeah.
interesting to see the newer artists these days, especially with social media and having this inspirations and places now to have outlets for your work. It's pretty neat to see it with the whole social media landscape nowadays. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I'm kind of jealous of the people that come in fresh and new and they've got all these resources available to them.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. So with your business background, is that something that you came into with the knowledge, I guess, in a sense, as an artist already, or is it something that you've also had to learn along with the way?
Um, it was a combination of things. It's something I learned along the way, but I was kind of weird like this when I was young too. And I don't think anyone has to be like I was, but when I was really young, I was very entrepreneurial. I would try to find ways to make money. I grew up in a really poor home, so I just sixth grade, I actually had an assistant and I was drawing sports mascots because I knew that's what the kids liked. And I would sell it to my classmates.
That's awesome.
I actually got in trouble for that. The principal was away for a week on vacation. And so my sixth grade teacher let me get away with it, but I guess that's illegal in sixth grade. And then about 17 or 16, my then boyfriend was getting involved in network marketing, which is ugh. But I learned so much from them in terms of mindset, how to connect with people, and that really helped a lot in the beginning. But um, really, I had to really teach myself how to do the research and educate myself on all of that. I couldn't even talk to people. I couldn't even order a pizza on the phone at 17. It would stress me out. I was so shy.
Yeah, it's funny. My daughter's in that same boat right now. I'm trying to get her to learn how to apply for a job and actually call and follow up in the applications. And she's like, "Well, I don't want to bother him." Like, if I was a manager, you need to call me to follow up on your applications. So it's kind of funny how you're saying that, because I can now say this to her and let her know that eventually she'll get
Oh
over
yeah.
this bullshit. And she's in a theater program at school, so she's like, on stage and doing performances and stuff. But then same thing when it comes to like one-on-one personal kind of stuff, she freezes up.
Yeah, yep. I was just like that. Yeah, I still to this day struggle, but I'm much better than I was even 10 years, even 2 years ago. So
Yeah, and that's the important part too, is just to keep going forward with it. I heard a guy the other day talk about like something about the when you know you should do something and you're afraid to do it, you probably should do it, kind of
oh
idea.
yeah.
It's
Oh yeah.
it's fascinating, because when you do it, you feel better and grow confidence, but also whatever that was you're supposed to do, it's probably going to be something successful in some sense. It's interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
So talking about the mindset idea, like one of the reasons I want to bring you on here was because of what I'm seeing. I'm trying to, with the followers and the listeners to the show, my goal really is to help kind of steer them in the direction of thinking as a professional artist, but also as a business person or small business. And a couple of the guys that I've brought on the show who are now at a point now where they're very successful, don't even want to talk business because they have an accountant or something that does all that for them. Which is cool to have that. Kind of have like a representation out there. But for those of us that don't have that, and I don't know if I ever would myself personally, no matter how successful I become, it's important to change the mindset, to start thinking about business. So at what point in time then did you see where you were going and the things you were learning to where then you started to get into more of your mentoring side of your business?
Um, I think, I mean, it really was a huge growing for me over the years. I was being asked to talk about these topics in my early years because I was successful so quickly in the beginning. Um, and, from time to time, I was speaking at conferences and doing panels and that kind of thing, but I really wasn't there yet. And of course, I needed more time and more experience. I was really young, and when you're young and you're successful, sometimes you have an ego issue. But
Mm-hmm.
and that really honestly was a huge stumbling block for me when the economy took a dive in 2008, and it affected the real estate market, the interior market, the art market. I had to work really, really hard to not only keep my income consistent, but keep growing. And that was a huge challenge because it had been so easy for me in the early years, though, I was teaching myself how to do everything and how to keep it consistent, how to profit from my art. So I had to do a lot of reading and a lot of research, but I had to learn those mindsets, the idea of what is this investment or this purchase going to earn me in return? And also, how am I going to approach this from a professional place and not from a personal place? Oh, I don't know how to explain it actually now that I think about it.
It's okay.
How would, like, uh, are you asking when did I get to the place where I was ready to mentor or
Yeah, it's that whole idea of like when the student's ready, the teacher appears kind of idea, So was there someone in particular in your life that like came to you asking for help in their world of business?
Oh, yes. I had this huge moment. Actually, funny thing is, I started our Career Academy, that site, in 2011 to start really building some courses to teach other artists because, regularly I'm asked by email or in person at events, Natasha, how do you do this? How do you market that? How do you make money from your prints? Blah, 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 all of those things. But it wasn't until about like a year or two ago, I was at an art fair where I was one of the judges. So I was judging the booth of these different artists and their craft, and determining what was the best setup, what was the best designs, all of that. And I came across a problem where I'd go to the booth and I'd get really excited about their work, and I'd want to ask them, what are you doing to promote this? Where are you online? And I had to stop myself and keep pulling myself away, because I would have this urge to help them. I just wanted to. I was so excited about what they were doing, and I saw that they had the talent, and anyone who saw it would want it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I realized, okay, I really need to seriously focus on how I'm going to help other artists do this, because while, you know, there's a lot of resources out there, there's not a lot of artists that I know that have been there and done that and can offer the kind of experience that I've had. And I've gone through every possible horrible, great experience that I might have online. So yeah, that was the pinnacle right there when I realized I couldn't not help them. I really wanted to, honestly, personally, without any making money from it or anything. I'm so excited to see what artists are doing and want to see them succeed.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. That's because that's where I'm at now too with the show. Like we were talking before, you know, when I saw the kids on Instagram blowing glass in our bedroom, and I was like, I have to find a way to reach out to these people, whether that specific person hears me or not. But now there's like 10,000 million outlets to reach people. But having a podcast is one platform that I'm really focusing on to really get the word out, to bring guests like you on, to really explore business and art and how we can become better people, but mostly how we can be professional artists. So it's cool you're saying this, because, you know, I think at some point in someone's life when they're struggling, they're running an order out, you know, that we always talk about how, like, we'll go sell an order just enough to make money to get home and you know, put gas in our car, you know, kind of thing. So when you're talking to people that are starting off as artists, you know, from the bare bones minimum, like, do you have people that are like kind of, I guess, how am I trying to say this? Like, people that are coming to you for mentoring, or those that you're reaching out to, are you finding those people that are already established and you're finding something that they need to tweak a little bit to be better, or are you starting off like from the foundation and building them up to become successful?
Ironically, I really thought that when I started out, I was going to get a lot of people who were really new and haven't established themselves yet. I get them here and there, but they're actually very sparse. I actually get people who are mid-career, and their work is beautiful. They absolutely got it down what their skill is in, and their gift is, but they just need a little help in the business area aspect. So that's been who's actually been approaching me a whole lot lately.
Yeah, that's good. Cool. So to go on to the Artist Academy that you have, how long ago did you start doing that?
So I started the site in 2011. I launched my first course, I believe it was 2004. Gosh, I think it was between 2013 and 2014. I launched the Artist Blueprint course. And yeah, that's when I officially started pursuing it in mentorships.
And how was the feedback on that? Like, did you get an immediate response?
I actually, you know, it's funny. We all are very self-deprecating as artists. We don't think too much about what we have to offer, because I've been doing it so long and I live in like this bubble. I don't realize what I'm offering. So the response was really huge. I got a lot of really positive feedback from artists who are mid-career, or they're just getting into it, who had a huge impact on their business and the way they were doing things. They were getting results from it. So it was really fascinating and a relief, because you always worry you're not offering enough. So that was that was really exciting.
Yeah, I can imagine so. Especially when you have like a kind of a baby that you come up with, you know, and you give birth to it, and then hoping somebody wants to come by and feed it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Sounds like yours got fat pretty quick.
Oh yeah, it really did.
So what are some of the foundational things you try to teach from the beginning in the art? Not to give your whole plan away in a sense, but when you are mentoring, you know, to professionals to start a business in a sense, like, what are some of the foundational things that you recommend for, you know, organizing your books, or, you know, kind of keeping track of your expenses and your costs and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's actually something we're going to go more into in my mentorship, this new course. Because the Artist Blueprint plan is really more focused on your branding, your vision, and building the kind of like foundation that you want for where you want to go with it. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm actually going to be teaching on everything from how to actually do Facebook ads with your budget, where you are, because that one's quite daunting right now. And it's a little confusing. A lot of things have changed in Facebook that scared artists off, but it's like, it's such a great place.
I took advantage of it over the Black Friday holiday.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing, especially when you get it down. So that I'm going to be talking about how to do some effective bookkeeping that's not going to be overwhelming, and you can focus more on your art and get stuff done. And also learning how to outsource different tasks. That's another thing we're afraid of doing. I still have that sometimes where there's something I could totally do on my own, but I really need to get someone else to do it for me so I have more time to either finish a project or I want to paint more. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. It's because I brought an assistant on myself about, I guess, 6 months ago now. It's been maybe a little bit longer than that. I guess July he came on board, and it was huge. Like, it was immediate. I was helped out. It was crazy. Shipping stuff. Just keeping track of all my crap, and running, get propane, gas. Coffee, all the shit that I should not have been doing anymore.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell people. It's like, if you've been doing if you're an artist professionally for 5 years, you should still be running all your own errands. But after that point in time, it gets to a point where you definitely need to bring somebody on. Even before 5 years, if you're successful, you should. But still, I think people still need to earn their dues, no matter how successful they are. With that.
Yeah, and that's another, it's a funny thing, getting past that block, that idea that we can't afford it when we do. At some point, we get to a place where we got to realize, investing in, like, for example, maybe a maid once a week or once every other week is going to save you a couple $100 that you could have earned by spending that time on your work. And that's a huge one right there.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, especially for the glass artists, too, because we have a lot of issues with breaking. That's probably one of the biggest, things, breaking all the damn time, and it's, labor of love, but it also sucks when it happens, and time wasted and whatever else. So I definitely agree, the time spent creating is definitely important, but at the same time, we got to focus on the business side of things. So like, in terms of bookkeeping and stuff, I find that being an artist, it's probably one of the most simplest small businesses to have, minimal expenses, minimal overhead, but then it comes to a point to where you need to price your work. And pricing your work, I think, for artists is probably the biggest struggle, undervaluing yourself for one, but then also if you try to pay attention to trends, and like in my industry now, there's guys like someone just sold a pipe for $100,000. I mean, literally, like last week. And so there's some bigger brands out there that are becoming the Maseratis and, and the Bugattis of our glass world in a sense. But then you got the new guys that are starting off, and I'm trying to teach to set a minimum wage hourly based on your production after your expenses and stuff. Like, I have some basic business stuff I try to talk about. But when you're actually pricing yourself out, how do you go about, even with painting, I mean, art in general, no matter what it is, how do you kind of help people to get past, to get the confidence, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, to sell their work at value, what they've, should be sold at?
Yeah, that's a great question. I get this question so much, so it's really, really it's hard for people to get concept of. But what I try to do, especially when they're starting out, I have to first, impress on them. One, you aren't very well known yet, so it's going to take time to build some exposure for you. So there's different things they've got to really focus on right now, which is creating the art and getting yourself out there and building that fan base, which is hard and painful and confusing, especially if you don't have a plan. So the second thing I try to work on with them is getting a plan set in place. And I tell them, just make sure that you're covering your expenses when you start out. So any materials that you used on that piece, your time, like an hourly rate, like you said, and go start from there. Price it a little above that so that you're making a profit. So I don't want them to lose money on shipping. I don't want them to lose money on making that piece. And I explain to them, the more that you're selling, the more eyeballs get on it, the more word of mouth happens, and they'll start to see a slow but steady snowball effect that will happen. If they're really serious about what they want to do, if they're already pursuing art shows and they're doing other things to market themselves, it won't be very long before they can make some decent money. And the thing, too, is that I try to explain to them is, sometimes you don't have to sell that painting right now, and it will actually add to the value if you're not underpricing it and you offer prints of that piece. So you're making a profit from that image over and over and over, without underselling the actual painting. In due time, you'll find a collector who will come along, who'll see that, they understand the value of an original, and they will grab that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I know, like with the glass, for instance, for myself personally, I'll do something that's either a custom order for somebody or just being creative and making something, and then I find a way to reproduce that. But that first piece, I agree. I have trouble myself holding on to stuff. I like to just get it out of my shop. Being glass, for one, I want it breaking, but two, I like to have my stuff, in people's homes. But that's a good idea, to think about creating an original and just holding on to it, and then creating a production piece based on that original, and then selling your production, and then that original gets up in value. So it's smart, because I know with glass we can't really make duplicates or print necessarily in production like that. But
oh yeah,
it's very similar, same kind of ideas. Because initially, like when I do my work, when I'm trying to figure something out, I do a sketch in glass, and it's a either solid or something in clear. That's minimal cost to figure out the process to make what I'm making. And then
cool.
I take that sketch and then use that as a reference, and I've held on to those pieces for myself just for reference, never to sell. But yeah, that's awesome. That's smart. But it's the whole idea too. It's like, art's only going to sell what someone's willing to pay for it.
Right.
And then you have industry, and like with your work, you do a lot of fantasy work, which I love your style and what you do. So I guess it's it's finding your niche for one. And being the best at that niche. Like I do, part of my niche is I make, my characters are called the Wise Guys, which is where my whole brands come from. And there's these owls that I make. And there's a couple people in my industry that make owls, but my goal is to be known and the best person in my industry that makes owls. So I think in terms of any kind of art, it's the goal is to be the best at that particular, whatever niche that you're in. And I had a friend of mine, I was asking everybody at the end of the show what, some piece of advice, and a buddy of mine was saying, find what you're a nerd about and make that your niche.
Yeah.
Even
right.
if you're not copying trademark, type stuff, if you start off with that kind of stuff, it's good because you kind of get a creative outlet, but then make it your own thing. But again, something that you're a nerd, you're completely, over your top with, and then just, and be creative with it and just kind of find that path. So is that something that you kind of help the artists in a sense, and I guess what I'm trying to get at is in branding yourself, like you're talking about, and finding, if you have a niche, you have a brand in a sense,
Yeah.
and something that people recognize you by, like your work's recognizable. So I see your work, I know it's you. So how do you go about helping people find their niche, out there when it comes to their marketing their work and selling it?
This could be really tough because artists tend to be pretty stubborn, unfortunately, about this. It's such a personal thing, creating art. So they will ask me for advice to go over their Facebook page and their website, look at their portfolio a little bit. So I don't do mentorship on that level, though in the future I'd like to. I really think I have a knack for seeing what will work or what is really good for them. But I'll go over their site and what they're doing, how they're branding their stuff, and I'll see that they're extremely talented in one thing, and it looks like something they could totally market on, but they're really, grasping onto something else they're very passionate about, and that's okay. I try to encourage them to follow where their passion is, and almost every single time I come across this, the artist wants to do what sells. They're constantly looking at what sells and not where they want to go with it. And they will change their style and their genre over and over and over. And they'll do it over the course of like 1 month or a couple months. And it just drives me insane. They're not listening. And they're just going to keep themselves behind. But if they would focus on one thing that they really want to do, they can totally make it marketable. If they would work on the branding and work on their story, it would help solidify everything and make it attractive to other people to buy, that kind of thing. But yeah, this one drives me insane. It's so hard to get through to them. Do what you love. I went through a shift in my own art because when I started out, I was doing what sold. And I found, ironically, that when I pursued what I absolutely loved, I was actually profiting more per piece and making a good living off the prints. when I was doing the art I absolutely loved, which is the fantasy work. So, and that's typically not supposed to be something that sells very well.
Right.
So when you're passionate about something, the art is better. You work more on it. You're very focused on it. They just, yeah, I don't know. I could go on and on, but I'm rambling right now.
No, it's okay. I completely agree because I've been in that same boat myself. Like really trying. Like I got my brand and my niche that I do for myself, but also right now I'm trying to find my 2016 models in a sense that I'm trying to do, and I'm also trying to think as an artist about doing series as like a fashion designer in a sense,
Yeah.
which I think is very important because then you can come back the following year to that same series and just tweak it a little bit, But if you can split up your year into quarters and lines that you do to not only break up the monotony but also to break up the creativity as well, and then every year you just come back to that line and people will know, oh, the spring line's coming out, so we're expecting this, but hopefully it's a little different, type of thing.
Yes, I see the most success for artists of all kinds when they approach it that way. And it's really hard because the artists that I work with, they want to be successful right now. They want to put work out there right now, and that's tough if you want to be sustainable and build a really good collection and you're going to profit the most off of it. It's going to be done very slowly. You got to really prep for it. I mean, there's so much to it that's really cool. Collectors love that anticipation. They love that build up. They like watching the process. And if they would approach it that way and not be reactive, like, just painting something today and pushing it out right now for $300 with no message, no rhyme or reason for it, it's not a great way to build up your art career, really. It's too fast, it's too impatient, and it's really a process.
Yeah, it really is. You always hear those guys that are 20-year overnight successes, and that's what it takes. It's like they always say it takes like 10 years to get your foot in the door, and then once your foot's in the door, then you can go from there. And, the whole idea of the 10,000 hour principle, and I think even that, it's like with the glass, for instance, I think there's certain areas that we do where it's 10,000 hours per technique or per area or whatever. It's like, there's masters out there that are master painters or sculptors or whatever, but they've been doing it for 60 years plus, and they probably had a family member who was doing the same thing,
Oh yeah, I one of my artist friends, her name is Jasmine Beckett Griffith. She's a fantasy artist, and I've been following her too since about 1999. And back in that day, her art was very. I don't know how to say it without it being like it was an insult or something, but it wasn't technically very good. And I watched the process. It was like let's see, 2016 right now. So by 2008, 2009, you're starting to see a shift because she was learning new techniques, and her art took a huge evolution from where she was when she began. So that's like almost 10 years or more to get where she was. Yeah. And her stuff's like beautiful.
Yeah. Do you promote to artists to take classes and to, continue their education in a sense?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Definitely. I tell them, try to find, you could take a local workshop. You could do something online. There's so much different options, though. I would like to see more artists offering actual mentorships where they're working with you on your portfolio. That is like hugely invaluable versus working on your own. You really can't evolve and progress as well or quickly as you could working under a master.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's definitely learning from someone who's made mistakes, and they can show you how not to make the mistakes. It's fun. It's like when I'm teaching myself even now, it's like, which I love to teach, I always find that I even teach myself even more so, when I'm teaching. It's a great way to reinforce techniques and, to find other ways of doing things by teaching it, and simplifying the process.
Definitely.
And so on the mentor side, it kind of gets us into the mastermind groups, which is part of what I wanted to talk about, because myself personally, having been involved, I'm in your mastermind group, and having been involved in a couple others, and I'm actually putting one together now. And then also, my goal for March is to start some for the show. Mm-hmm. And the Napoleon Hill, quote about the mastermind principle consists of an alliance of two or more minds working in perfect harmony for the attainment of a common definitive objective. I think it's fantastic. And, being that was in the 1900s, early, that was written in ahead of his time in a sense, but it's so relevant now, and especially with social media, again, going back to that and having the access to the world literally, and to be able to create followings and groups and your tribes and stuff. But that's all well and fine, but if you don't have anybody that's similar to you're working with, it's almost impossible. It's like, you're this fish in this giant ocean with a school of fish following you around, like, where the hell are we going to go? So,
oh God, yeah.
So it's, and as artists, it's even more tricky because you're trying to find all kind of areas for yourself as an artist, and then also the business side. I mean, it's just so freaking crazy. So I think being in mastermind groups are huge because it really helps you bring you back to center, see where you're at, ask questions, get mentoring from your friends or, those in your groups. So I guess to back up, your perspective of the mastermind group as an artist, like, what do you think an artist, I'm not going to say the most important thing to get from it, but what do you feel the gain from being in a group of other artists is out there for it?
Yeah, definitely. I think artists in particular really, really need this kind of support system because we're pursuing probably one of the most difficult and painful, stressful, ongoing roller coaster rides of a career anyone could possibly have. And we need to be involved with other people who are there with us on the same level, who are doing the same things, going through the same struggles. And it's really hard. We don't usually have that kind of opportunity on a local level. Most of us probably live in rural towns. We're not in a big city where there's groups like this in person. And that's the advantage of an online world now. And I think it's absolutely necessary not only to get involved in some kind of group like that, a community of artists, but hopefully also, getting involved with someone who could be a mentor or your coach. I think everyone, including the coaches themselves, have coaches because you need that outside perspective and that objective perspective for someone to be able to pinpoint some things for you that you might be overlooking. Because, as an artist, we do kind of live in a bubble. We're working by ourselves usually about 99% of the time, 24/7 on our work, and we don't have that. We don't have the opportunity of working with a professor at in school or something, or we might have a spouse or a partner who's not really involved or interested, or they're busy doing their own thing. So I think it's imperative. I tried to do it on my own for such a long time, and because of that, I struggled so much more and had so many problems I could have totally avoided if I had that outside support system that is available.
Yeah, I agree 100%. One of the things I find unique in the industry of glass is the studios, like mine, for instance. I work with a friend of mine, and sometimes we have 4 or 5 of us in there working, and it's a whole different arena of art when you can have 4 or 5 artists in a space. They're all being creative on their own, but the energy is flowing, and everybody kind of bounces off each other, for inspiration, what have you. So it's an amazing environment to be in, just not even working in it, but just to be in that kind of environment and experiencing the energy and seeing that happening. But then again, not everybody can do that. They're, like you're saying, they're in rural towns, they're in their little caves at home. They're not necessarily introverted people, but they live an introverted type of life. So again, with like we're on Skype right now, and it's like we're next door to each other. There's no reason that people can't reach out to each other, and with the technology and group chats and whatever else, it's definitely important. So I guess when you're starting a mastermind group off, in terms of like a foundation for one, what do you think are good principles for starting mastermind groups?
Number one, really connect with some friends and people that are in the industry that you are in. And of course, you can find some masterminds that are out there that are also, they're business minded, but they're not particularly in your industry. And you can learn a whole lot from them as well. Another thing is, and this is something I'm going to change with my mastermind, because the last 2-3 years, I've been way too busy because I was taking classes of my own. And so I couldn't keep our mastermind very active. So the thing I'm doing this year that I think is really great that people should implement is when you start a mastermind, make sure there's some active conversations that are going on. Make special days in the week where you have them post about something or help them with some problem they might have. Really getting conversation going and actually, making it beneficial to everyone to be involved. So that, and you could start one anywhere. It could be a private group in Facebook. It could be there's lots of different forum app softwares online and different sites you can use that are totally free, where you could have it private or public. Those are really the best places to have those long-term conversations going.
Yeah, and the group online, that's a private group, right? The Artist Academy group.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I thought so, because I have my Wise Guy Radio public business group, but then I've got a private group that I've started. I haven't opened it yet to anybody yet, but that's the goal, is to have it be a private group. Because like you're saying, like I know the mastermind groups I've been a part of, we had a common room that we all went to, but then there was like 50 of us in the room, but our groups were in groups of 6. And the groups stayed together. There wasn't, anybody else would come in, kind of thing. So you really build this relationship, so things can be talked about that aren't just business or art. You can talk about relational stuff, family issues, which is part of the group I want to start myself with these guys that are dads. So we can talk about our art and how to sell it, but also talk about, parenting issues and topics like that, which I think, the life topics that we deal with are sometimes more important than our art, because I think, once our life is out of whack, then everything else, your creative spirit is completely screwed up,
Absolutely. Oh my God, 100%. Yes.
So I think it's very important. It's kind of one of the things I like to say about our glass, is that if your glass is not on center, you can't blow an even bubble. It doesn't come out symmetrically, and life is exactly the same way. So it's part of my I guess my goal with the mastermind groups is to help those in the groups help stay on center, and when they get off center in their life, to find ways through each other to help them get back on track. It's
that's awesome.
It's kind of fascinating. Do you find, like, in the groups, to like limits on sizes of them? Because like I know the ones I've been in were anywhere from 4 to 6, at a time.
I feel like smaller groups would be better. One of the things I'm not liking about the Facebook thing too is you really don't have these separate areas for conversations that can be seen. Every time someone replies or comments on something, that goes to the top of the feed, and stuff gets lost in the fray. So it's I think, when it gets really big like that, you can't keep up, and you're probably missing something that would have been really invaluable to see. So having a smaller group is really important, for one. Number 2, I would never advise to do it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Though I use it myself. It seems like that's just where everyone is right now. So I would like to, in the future, myself, move everything to like an actual forum for everything.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Facebook's weird. I always find that, which drives me crazy, these companies, like, they try to make it better, and we're used to using it one way, and then they change it to make it better, and it's
God, yeah.
It drives me nuts. So,
yeah, it does. It's like you have to keep up with the changes. It seems like a weekly thing.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It sucks. So with yourself personally, so you're implementing a new group this year, you're saying, or are you going to kind of keep the old groups going and change the way you're doing things? I'm
going to keep the old groups going. It's really hard for people to make a change, but I'm going to try to shift. Next year I think is going to be when my mentorship's a yearly thing. So next year when I launch that again for enrollment, I'm going to have everyone going to an actual forum setting. That's going to be so much better. And then, I'll give an invitation to the past students to go over there.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So besides your websites that you also have a YouTube channel, Natasha TV, which I think is fun. You do a lot of time-lapse videos and stuff. Do you find the YouTube is more of just kind of a fun thing for you to use as an outlet to show your work off, or do you actually use that for your mentoring and your business stuff as well?
I do a little bit here and there. Mainly it's for fun. I'm not trying to do anything with it really in terms of like growing it or making any money off of it. But right now, yeah, it's just to show my art. When I'm doing something new, I'll post it up there. If I do any live painting on Facebook, I'll download it and put it up there too. So that's just for just random things here and there. But yeah, mainly what I focus on is live streaming right now.
So you're doing that through Facebook?
Yeah, I do that through Facebook, and I've been doing it through Periscope a little bit too, mostly talks, but I haven't found a really great place to live stream off of the mobile. Everything's going mobile right now. Mm-hmm. But, Justin TV was where I was at, and that closed down. So I'm having a learning curve issue trying to get on Twitch right now. I haven't bothered trying to get on there.
Yeah, there's like Blab, and there's so many different companies that are coming out of the woodworks nowadays. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. It's even funny with the live streaming. Like I was talking, my last guest we had on, and she's really big into social media. She has like 700,000 followers on one of her Facebook pages that she has. Like, it's crazy. Wow. And we were kind of talking about that too, about how the landscape has changed so much, and with Meerkat starting, and then Periscope came in, they more or less put Meerkat out of business, and then now Facebook video may be putting Periscope out, even though Periscope's new. I mean, it's like this constant war of, who's doing what. It's interesting, but I think it's cool at the same time because, again, as artists, it's just one more outlet for us to push our stuff out there.
Right.
Without getting too bogged down. I mean, like I haven't even attempted Pinterest yet. My wife has been on Pinterest for probably 3 or 4 years now, and it's like her outlet for all of her art and stuff. She's an art teacher herself, so she does a lot of fun stuff on there for projects for the kids and whatever.
Oh, that's perfect for art teachers, Pinterest.
Yeah, totally. So I'm trying to get her to help me run my Pinterest as well, and I'm finding the glass artists as well are starting to get into it. Do you have any? Do you use Pinterest yourself?
I don't. I did in the beginning a little bit, but I really found it a pain. Something I tell artists as well, stammering here, is that not to focus on every single thing under the sun that comes out. And I had a little bit of success with Pinterest in the beginning, but I really didn't find it fun. It was a pain in the ass. Just everyone and their dog is on there doing pinning, and it's a little swamped in my opinion. So I just focus on Facebook and right now Instagram, which even then I'm not really focusing too much on that. I work too much now. I have so much work, I'm almost not doing very much of social media anymore, but those are the two I think are huge for artists. Huge. Back when Twitter was something, that was actually where I made money. Twitter was where I was selling stuff and really building a huge fan base. But Facebook and Instagram right now.
Yeah. So going on the building your fan base, how do you personally go about doing that? Is it constant posts? Is it new work? Is it reaching out to people, following people, getting follows back? Like, how did you go about growing your following?
It really has been showing interest in other people's posts. I do a lot of liking on things that I think are interesting. And Instagram, really, it was just posting my process at little video clips of my painting. I'm actually surprised in how many people I get every day, and it's just growing because I just got on there. Because I'm not really trying to do anything on Instagram, and I think that if I did, it would grow even faster. That's just a huge place for artists right now. But Facebook, it's been telling my story and sharing content on a regular basis. In the beginning years before ads were absolutely necessary like they are now, the conversation was enough. I drove a lot of new fans through just having a conversation or showing something I did with my dog or my kids that day. That wasn't art related. So really, making friends with people was the thing that really worked.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to go about it. The one thing with Instagram and the social media I like is having the ability to really show your life and your lifestyle that you live. And I don't show mine out of ego or bragging. I try to show it to inspire others to know that they can live the life they want to live no matter what it is. And I think as artists, that's going to like the 4-hour work week concepts and the lifestyle design ideas out there in the world. It's, as an artist, we have that ability to write on paper what it is we want to live, the life we want to live, and then find a way through our work to sell and promote it and make a living at it. And it's, like you're saying, in 2008 when the economy took a hit and people's expendable income went down and whatever else. But in my industry, we actually had an increase. It kind of sucks when the economy takes a shit and sex and drugs end up becoming the highest, thing bought out there in a sense, so people can relieve their stress. And people were buying glass, and the glass industry really kind of grew from that point. But like myself with Instagram, I love posting pictures of juicing or playing out in the yard with my dogs or my kids, or when we go to Disney, and just thanking my followers, because even though I work there, but there's times where financially wise I wouldn't necessarily be able to go play because unless my people help me out, buy my art and stuff.
Right.
I think it's a cool way to kind of thank your followers as well, as well as grow them too. Do you do any kind of giveaways, or do you auction stuff off on social media besides the eBays and stuff like you did?
Yeah, in the beginning days, I did a lot of contests. I would do like a Twitter chat where we did like a, what do you call it? I'm trying to think, like a questions about pop culture. and the right answer, they would get like a prize. It would be a signed art print or a necklace or whatever it was that I had to offer. And it was funny then because on Twitter, I almost never talked about my art. I was literally just making connections with people. I did a lot of my business came from Twitter because all I did was become friends with people. So I would do that. I would do giveaways on my blog. My blog used to be really popular, which I totally closed down too because I'm so weird. I'm really fickle. My YouTube base used to be huge. I used to have a huge following. I had hundreds of videos because I video blogged since 2005 before YouTube, and I deleted it all after I did this thing with Ford because I hate having myself so exposed. So I would go through those fickle, artist moments and be like, ugh, screw this, get this out of here. I can't be online this much. But yeah, I do giveaways through video, contests. Another thing that worked really great is having people blog about me. I'd actually do these little blog missions where people would share like a photo of their print in their home or a story about their children and what they did with my art, that kind of thing. And that really helped too.
Yeah, I think giving things away as a thank you from your heart is huge. I love giving shit away. Like I'll just do random flash giveaways and with hashtags and whatever else. I don't really care if I gain followers. It's just fun to have some random thing laying around. I'm like, I'm gonna give this away tonight, just as a thank you to whoever.
Yeah, definitely. I think artists in general need to realize the one thing we can do. I mean, a lot of marketers know that this is true. We have to give away value before we can ever make a sale, to build that trust and build those connections before we get those collectors, get those people interested in buying something, is to give something away. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, even if it is valuable. Like I've given stuff away that I probably could have sold for $1,000, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Just because I felt the need, to do that. It's especially like I'm getting close to my 10,000 follower mark on my Instagram page, so I'm gonna start pushing to get to 10,000 followers by doing a giveaway.
Oh, that's awesome.
Kind of thing, and it's just fun. It's like I did this mystery box auction about 2 weeks ago. And it was the end of my Christmas sales. I had some stuff left over. So I'm like, I'm just going to do some auctions. I ran 5 separate auctions and did 5 separate mystery boxes. I packed all the boxes. They were all the same boxes. I knew what items went into the boxes, but I misarranged them in a sense. So I didn't know who was getting what. So it was fun for people to, at the end of the auction, I shipped all their stuff off after I was paid. They get their stuff, and everybody's opening their boxes on Instagram. And it's cool to see who got what. And, it's I don't know. It's kind of a fun way to end the year for Christmas in a sense, to kind of see what's going on out there. And they're thankful. I'm thankful. It was a blast. I think I want to do it now every week.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that idea. I would be into that too. I love the idea of like surprise. What am I going to get? I love that stuff.
Yeah, I got the inspiration. There was a company goes by Beer Glass, and they were doing these fanny pack giveaways or auctions basically, and they would get a fanny pack and fill it with a bunch of stuff, and you didn't know what you were getting, and they would auction them off sometimes for $50, sometimes for $500, depending on what the day was. And it was always a cool thing to see and a great idea. So I think it's cool. I think more people should do that, and it's a good way to make money. It's an extra couple $100 a week potentially you can make, auctioning something like that off, and
yeah,
what is the value of it is in a sense that's going in there. But it's a fun way to promote yourself, and some people may get to know you. One of our artists last night on Instagram was doing a giveaway, and this guy's an incredible artist. And one of the things he did was he said the last comment will win. Well, it's still going on. He has like 25,000 comments or something like that on his thing, and he had to actually start a new post to let people know that this thing was still going on, and it's been going on for almost 2 days now. That people.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like I don't know how he's going to end it. It's almost like an infinity type thing, but it's cool to see different ways of people out there giving stuff away. Artists that do competitions like Dynatomic, I think he goes by. The guy's an amazing illustrator, and he does like surrealistic 10 by 10 foot canvases of portraits and stuff, like just insane shit.
Wow.
But he'll do contests where he'll have artists submit a picture of a drawing, and he'll do like a skull drawing, and then he has artists submit their drawings, and it's a cool way to interact the community of artists on there to win a piece of his work based on getting you to become creative, not to emulate his work, but to kind of push your skills, and I guess in a sense. And I think artists in general need to do that kind of stuff. They need to kind of help spread out and inspire and bring people on board to what they're doing, but also to be a part of what the people that are following them are doing as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's pretty important stuff. So, not to ramble on too much anymore, but I guess, kind of going on to the mastermind thing, back to that real quick. Oh man, I had a question. I don't know what the hell I was going to say. I'm glad I can edit this out. Oh, that's what it was. I guess when you're planning for shows and you're talking with other people about, organizing events and art shows, do you find that a mastermind group could potentially be something that you could use for, say, putting on an art show and promoting the show as for the artists that are in your group? Does that make sense?
Are you saying like, is the mastermind a great place to promote your art show, or do you mean?
Well, I guess like to involve those that are in the mastermind, like say, because like a lot of times mastermind groups, I know that people are from all over the country or even all over the world, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
But if you guys could get together maybe in one place or some spot online to actually hold your own art show, does that make sense?
Oh,
You know what I mean?
that's cool. I've never done that before, but that would be, I could see that being like a really awesome idea. In the beginning years, I saw a lot of art collectives online that did this, and they had a lot of success from that. So I think that's really beneficial. You get to learn from each other at the same time. People have done different things or different levels, so that's a really great benefit right there. I could see that.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought too, because like I've done trade shows and craft shows around town, but I haven't done enough really to have that experience of being under a tent, selling my work all day.
Right.
So I think people to get together to work, to kind of help brainstorm on how, because especially nowadays, so many shows require photographs of your tent setup, your displays, your work, your background, so much. It's crazy, and a lot of them require brand new images every single freaking time.
Oh, the process is terrible. It's so long.
Do you do those kind of shows yourself? Like, do you get out into that industry at all, or are you mostly?
I don't do art fairs, but I have done comic cons and I've done expos, and they aren't as bad as that. But I think it's really, really valuable. Depending on the genre that you work in, I try to do a lot of that, and I'm doing a lot of group shows and gallery shows in the last few years.
Yeah, that's a big thing right now too in our industry. Are the group shows? There's guys that are doing solo shows, and then the solo show has a huge line of work in it that is all collaborative.
Oh, that's awesome. With
other artists. Yeah, which again is a fun thing with our industry, is the ability to take two artists and merge them together and get this amazing work. And I think some of the coolest artwork coming out of our industry right now are collaborative pieces that are being done. It's just,
oh, that's super cool.
It's fantastic stuff. Yeah, it's neat. So I guess to kind of wrap this up, if you have any kind of parting advice that you give, somebody new coming into the art world, that's kind of scared, not really sure how to start. I know it's kind of a broad, thing here, but, if you can give them like one piece of advice to get their feet moving, because I think that's the most important part, is just to get started, So is there like a starting point, I guess, in a sense you could advise?
Yeah. Number one thing to really focus on is just, make sure you're building that collection of work. Focus, if you're just starting out, you're really lucky because you get to do this the right way if you start right now. So I really, really recommend you build that collection first. Build that art out. 10 to 20 pieces before you start trying to sell it. And think of like your first year plan. Like, what do you want to accomplish in the next year? Do you want to do an art show? Do you want to do 5 art shows? And connect with people that are in the industry that you want to get into, or people that you want to learn from. Those masterminds that are on there, they're online, they're free, they're everywhere. There's certain ones that aren't art related that are totally cool. You can learn so much from, and just dive into business stuff and get yourself knowledgeable on just the basics. That'll really help you. You don't have to know everything. Number 2, you don't have to be perfect. And when you start out, it doesn't matter if your website's absolutely on top, on point, or that you're doing everything the right way. You've got to just start and go. Once you're ready, you got all that art, just get out there and get it on everyone that you can, everyone's eyeballs. So Tell your friends, tell your family, get it online, start some kind of basic site or blog and start putting it out there.
Yeah, well said. And kind of, I guess one more thing there too, on terms of planning out a year, I talked about the whole seasonal idea. The first year there's a lot of things you have to do, establishing a business in a sense, even if you're a hobbyist or whatever, there might not be some, depending on state laws, I guess, what you got to do, as a small business. But, I think having a calendar in front of you and really looking at the calendar, because like with our industry, we have our trade shows. There's four major, I guess now, trade shows that we have, and some of them are twice a year. So like you're saying, to stock up on an inventory and to be able to go to a show or to an outlet of some sort with a nice display of, in a sense, a portfolio of what you're creating, makes a big difference for sure. So I appreciate that. And if you also want to kind of give us some ideas on how we can find you out there in cyberspace, whether it's online or whatever you're at in your emails and what have you.
Yeah, so on Twitter, I'm Natasha, just Natasha. My art site is natasha-wescoat.com. And then my mentorship program's on artcareeracademy.com. And I have a mastermind group, too, that's free. It's called Dream Crafters. You just search that on Facebook and you'll come across it. So
awesome. Heck yeah, Natasha. Well, again, I greatly appreciate you coming on here. And now we've been able to coordinate this, and I know we kind of went all over the place and talking about stuff, but I think this is all very insightful and really helpful for all those out there, whether you're established or not. It's definitely, it's all very important.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I was excited to talk about it.
Yeah, heck yeah. So, all right, y'all. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. And again, coming in March, I will be starting our Wise Guy Radio Mastermind groups. Next month, I'll be putting out more information how you guys can find out about that. And you can sign up to our newsletters, which has all that information in there. Just go to wiseguyradio.com and sign up for our newsletters, and we'll keep you in touch with all the new stuff coming in. And until then, y'all take care. And Natasha, thank you so much again for being on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Y'all take it easy. See you. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show. If you have any questions, comments, or remarks, please leave them in the show notes page area where it says comments. We'll see you soon. Have a wise night.
You're listening to the Wise Guy Radio Show.